The first form of the bicycle looked like a wooden horse with wheels, and the rider would use his legs to propel himself forward. This version was called the velocipede, which means fast foot. Eventually pedals were added, and the hard metal or wood wheels were swapped out with rubber tires. With the invention of wire-spoked wheels, the commonly known ordinary bicycle was created in 1871. The large front wheel allowed riders to move farther, faster, but also made it difficult to balance. Realizing the dangers of the ordinary, engineers began to develop a safer bicycle, and in the mid-1880s, the safety bicycle was invented. It allowed cyclists to be closer to the ground and was far less dangerous to ride. Although the bicycle continues to evolve even today, the safety bicycle was what helped start the women's social reform of the late 1800s and early 1900s. Women developed an interest in cycling because it provided a degree of independence. As more and more women began to ride, the need for social and dress reform became more prevalent.
The bicycle gave women freedom in two different ways. One, because a bicycle was relatively easy to maintain and take care of, it gives you mobility beyond walking. Your other choice was a horse and buggy, and that was a lot of trouble to hitch up, and so they get the added mobility of having a bicycle. And the second was that in order to ride a bicycle, there were certain modifications that needed to be made in acceptable women's dress. The bicycle helps push that forward because they become so popular. Bicycle costumes become fashionable. You get skirts that are now not so long, and you have freer movement in your clothing. You can't ride a bicycle wearing a corset, so you get rid of those sorts of things, and that becomes more broadly socially acceptable for women at the time.
Why do I ride my bike? Because it's a simple thing to do, and it's a cheap thing to do, and it seems like the right thing to do. I don't need to ride. I don't need to drive the car.
So I ride my bike for a whole lot of reasons. I ride my bike because it's healthier for my body than to drive. I ride my bike because I enjoy having a way of being mindful of where I am. Riding is a way of being efficient, but also not being alienated. I am connected to community in a way I'm not when I'm in a kind of a iron, aluminum, and glass, prison.
I ride my bike because it forces me to slow down. It makes me closer to my elements that surround me. I feel more alive, as I bike through the winter.
I started riding my bike when I was young and just for fun, but now riding my bike I like because it gives me agency to go wherever I want to go. I don't have a car, and so when I need to go somewhere, I'm able to bike. So it's really like my mode of transportation.
Because it's a trike, has more exercise. Because you have to pedal. Well, you don't have to if you put rocket engines on it.
We live in a culture that has a lot of bikes, but doesn't necessarily have bikes for transportation. Bikes for use in terms of going shopping and being able to travel easily. Those typically have things that we don't invest in as a culture, in part because the concentration on bicycling as a sport, bicycling as a recreational activity, rather than something practical.
There's so many different bicycles that suits so many different body types and different people, that bike culture is possible and ought not be limited to a particular demographic.
Critical Mass was formed in 1992 in San Francisco. A group of individuals got together. They wanted to ride home safely, and as a consequence, they got together and they chose to ride. More individuals joined them, and slowly the ride started to take shape because more and more individuals realized the celebratory value of riding together.
We'll ride in this conglomeration, in this nice body, through town, preferably in places that's not a hazard to vehicles, that doesn't irritate the drivers more than help them realize what we're doing. That's what a critical mass is.
The bicycle provided movement for previously time-bound women. This vehicle encouraged women to shed their heavy, oppressive clothing and allowed them the opportunity to experience life outside of the house on their own. Harold Innis studied the relationship between communication, transportation, and empires. As a form of transportation, the bicycle communicated to society proof that women were not so fragile and that corsets and heavy dresses were to become a thing of the past. The bicycle did more than just allow women to move. It helped influence the women's rights movement.